Okay, we got our table set up. Why don't we set up a way to create a form so we can set a button down here or something, go to a form, fill it out, submit the data, and then it should redirect us here with our new dog in the bottom of the list. So why don't we work with that? So under the table, let's make a form, right? The action is where we want to go. So how about create, right? Because that's what we want to do. Now this is a GET request, which is default on a form, so I don't have to specify it if I don't want to. So inside, if there is a button inside of a form, it's automatically the submit button. If you have multiple buttons, it's good to say type equals submit. So I'll do that just to be specific. And so this is our submit button. We're going to do add new dog, right? And when we click this button, right, because it's type submit, it's going to submit the form. We're going to redirect to this route. It's a GET request. So let us see if that worked. There's our button. It's a little gross. Why don't we do margin bottom of say 10 pixels to the table just to give us some space here. There we go. If I click this, we should see /create. We do. However, we don't have the route set up, so it's not found. So why don't we make that route? We got to define it in here. So at app.route is going to be /create, the same link that we are submitting in this form. Now we're going to create a function called create. The name of the function doesn't actually matter, but I like to make it make sense. Inside, we are going to return a render template, okay? That template is going to be the name of a different HTML file containing said form. So I'm just going to call it create, just to keep everything kind of the same. Now we don't have this made yet. So if I try to run this, it's going to say template not found. Now we obviously want to make said template. So let's go inside of our file structure. In the templates folder, let's do a create.html. There it is. Let's move it over to our HTML area. I'm going to do the boilerplate. And inside the title, I'm going to say create new dog, right? Because that's what it is. I don't know. Yeah, we're probably going to have some kind of CSS, so why don't we set that up? Jinja syntax, URL4, just like before. Static file name, CSS, and then we'll just do create.css, right? So that'll be our file. Let's make that 2. So let's do create.css. There we go. So now I'm going to move that in our CSS area. Okay, so we've set up the files needed. Now we just got to make the form. So let's make sure this is working in the create file, right? We want to make sure it works. And there it is. So we have officially routed to the create file. That's good. So now we need to make our form. So the idea here is we need a form element for every single thing that is contained in the database of the table we're trying to access, because we made it not null. So if we leave out the name or the breed or the age, it's going to give us errors because we're missing table pieces and they have to be defined. So let's make another form. This time the action is going to go to process, okay? Because we want to process this data. And we need a method of post because we are going to be sending data to the database. It needs to know that this is a post request. So we're going to go to this address in our routes, process the data, i.e. call a method on the dog class. I don't think we've defined it yet, but once we do, it's going to process that data, and then it's going to redirect us to the main page. We don't want to render a template in a post request. We want to redirect. So let's start with our form elements. I'm going to make this unbelievably simple. I'm going to leave out any labels. I'm just doing raw inputs with placeholders. Okay. So let's do an input of type text. That's going to be our name. Okay. So placeholder. I'm going to say dog name ... Okay. We're going to do another text. This one's going to be dog breed ... And then we're going to do one more dog dog age, ... Now, I have to change this one to type number, okay? Because we only want numbers coming in through this. Now, these are all required, okay? So I'm going to put required keywords like this. That way it's guaranteed that they can't submit the form without filling these out. All right, so let's take a peek and see what we got here. I'm going to hit add new dog. Here's our form. You'll notice that we have our little numbers here. Okay, it can only take numbers. I'm trying to type text now. Hear that? Oh, E went in. Oh, it can take E as a parameter. That's interesting. No, but we can actually fix that. We can go into number, and inside there's a max and min. So I can do max of... Actually, the max doesn't matter. The min is what matters. The minimum, I'm going to say 0, I guess. So now it shouldn't be able to go below 0. There we go. See that? I can't do negative. I mean, I can, but it's not going to let me submit that. It's going to say the number's negative. So we fixed that problem. These are all required. Now, the only thing missing is names. We need names on each of these inputs that match this. Okay? Because we're going to be merging the form data with this class. So let's do a name property on each, like this. All right. If you want to know how I did that, if you left alt click, you can place multiple cursors. So fun fact. Inside here, we want dname, right? Because that's what we're trying to get through with the name. In the breed, we just want breed. And the name for number, or the age, I should say, is age. I don't know why I did that. Age is age, breed is breed, dname is name. All right? It's the same thing we got here. That's the same thing that we have in the database. And I auto-formatted and it all kind of stretched out, but it still works. Let's just refresh. All there. Now we need a submit button. So button, add dog, exclamation point. And of course we want type submit. Okay, there we go. There's our add dog. I know this form isn't pretty, but it's good enough. So if I hit add dog now, our required tag should trigger. Yep, I need to fill out the dog name. I'm going to call him Curly. The dog breed, if I still try, it's going to say I need to fill out this field now. Dog breed is, it's not going to submit anything, so I'm just going to say big dog. I don't know a lot of dog breeds. Dog age, I guess I could have a max age of like 20. But let's say 12, old dog. Add, it says URL not found, but we did go to process. So that's good. So let's work with process. We don't have a process route, so let's make it. At app.route process. Now this one is a post request, so we need another parameter in here called methods. We're going to equal that to an array and do post as a string inside of it. Okay? Underneath, we are going to create a function called process, right? And now inside here, before we actually process any data, because we haven't set up the method on dog yet, I'm going to do the return. Now we need to redirect. So we need to import redirect into Flask. So there we go. We're going to return a redirect to our root, meaning after we process it, we're going to reload the root. It's going to go here, load all the dogs again, and display them for us. So after we insert one, we should see the new one right away. So what we do in between here is going to process that data. So how do we do that? Well, we need to go into dog and make a method. So to create an insert statement, right, because we're trying to add a new one, we need a class method, just like before. Now, underneath, we're going to define it as, I don't know, create. We could do insert, but I guess create is good. And we need to pass through class and then the data in question that we're trying to send in. That'll be the form information. So inside, we're going to, of course, like before, I don't know why everything's highlighted. We're going to create a query, right? ... Just like before, we got quotes. There we go. Now, we're going to do the same thing we would do in an SQL query. So we're going to do insert into, okay, and then the name of the table, dogs. And then underneath, we're going to actually add in the names of the things we're trying to insert in the actual database. And that'll be the same thing that we have up here. So we need dname, breed, and age. So let's do that. Let's do dname, age, and breed. I believe that's the order. And from this point, we do values. Okay, I can actually tab that over and make it a little easier to read. Now, the values are what we're going to be actually adding in, okay, from our data. So we're going to want to do computed strings with this. We're going to want %, okay, another set of parentheses, and an S. It changes colors. That means we did it right. Dname, right? Because remember, these are the names from the form. So whatever we typed in for the name is what needs to be here because that's what it's looking for. And then we're going to do age, okay, and then breed. So one more set here for breed. There we go. Now, the last thing we want to do, of course, is add a semicolon. We want to make sure we always do that. Now, we have the query set up, so let's go ahead and do what we would normally do. We're going to return, okay, the connect to MySQL using the class.db as the name of the database, like always. We're going to query the DB using the query, and then we also have to send in the data. Okay, that should be it. That should be all we need in order to correctly insert, because what's going to happen is we have the query here with our computed stuff that needs to be computed. It's going to send the query and that data that is going to go with this together, and inside of our MySQL connection file, we find our insert statement. It's going to commit it, and then it's going to also return us. Remember, it's going to return us the last row ID. We're not going to get use out of that yet, but we will in the future. So let's save, and now in here, we want to do dog.create, okay? But where are we going to get the data from? Well, we need to get it from the form, okay? So we need to also import request. What request does is we're requesting the form data that was sent with this post request. That is why we have to do a post request. This is holding that form's data in this route so we can use it. So in here, we're going to do request.form. And that's it. It already comes in as a dictionary, so it's perfect. It just gets sent right in. If we want it to print, right, what request.form looks like, why don't we do that? Print request.form, right? Let's see what actually comes out when we process data. So we're going to do Doge, right? The dog breed is cute. And then 34. If I hit add, okay, we don't actually get the data processed because I canceled that. But if we look in the console, immutable molt dictionary. Dname is Doge, breed is cute, age is 34. It's technically a list of tuples, but tuples can be combined with a dictionary. Okay, so that's what's happening here. Okay, you can think of these as key value pairs in their own way. But they are mergeable with a dictionary through the Mogrify. Okay, that's what Mogrify is doing. It's combining these two, so we have our raw query as if we were to write it ourselves. All right, so now that we've proven that the data is coming through, we can now throw it into dog.create. Now, we should see a new dog this time with a updated ID, of course. We did auto increment. The dog's name, let's do it seriously this time, is Fido. I know, original, right? The dog's breed, we'll just say, I don't actually know that dog's particular breed. We're just going to say it's a lab. The dog's age is 6. Add a dog. Oh my goodness. We have a new dog to our database. And if I refresh, it's still there. So that means that it's permanently in our database. We can take a peek, go into SQL itself, and see if we can see that dog inside of our database. Why don't we do that? Dog DB, we're going to select all from dogs, run the query, and oh my goodness, look at that. Data inside of our database that was done through Python, through HTML. Beautiful. So we've officially added data to our database.